Hello and welcome everyone. We are here live at Awwwards in Amsterdam and I'm Stephanie and I have Benoit here with me. Welcome Benoit, how are you?
Thank you, Stephanie, for having me.
So let's start with a couple of questions. Tell us a little bit about your background. What are you doing? When did you get into the design industry?
Sure, that's a quite long story, but
Can we keep it
I
shorter?
yeah I try my best.
Thanks.
I studied French literature, but I became a designer, which is not very common, I guess. And I started from web design and then switched to interactive design, then to information architecture, then to UX design, and now product design.
Wow, that's a long story short. That's great. And how long ago did you start with UX?
UX, I started in 2009 when in France and in Europe, UX was not really a big thing, you know, and it developed a lot through the years. And I think now maybe it's time to switch to something else.
All right. And what would you say is your early story, like your early failure story? What would you say? What did you do in the past that you thought is really great and it just didn't work at all and your client didn't like it?
That's
Do you have a
complicated.
story about it?
Because when I worked in design or digital agencies, I think you are not really responsible for what you do because you have one client and you switch from to another client and you go on and go on. And maybe as a designer, it's important to be more responsible about what you do. And I think about maybe one of my first project that when you are a very young designer, you think that the work is finished, and in product design it's the opposite. The work is never finished.
Yeah.
In fact.
It never is,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's
it
an
never is.
ongoing
And
iteration.
I like the idea of the iteration in design.
So, did you have a specific project that really taught you the most?
The project that taught me the most, maybe it's the current project at Udrive. You know, Udrive is a French company, a European leader that delivers cloud solutions, collaborative cloud solutions with very securized environments. And the thing is that as a team of 5. We have to be, of course, very respectful of the other's work, and we have to be very careful with the different stakeholders in the project. And we have about 12 products in the company, which is a lot of products to deal with. And I think we would like, as the design team, to see more quickly the different changes we are making in the design, and it's not happening right now, so it's a bit frustrating. So the lesson is that you have to be very patient as a product designer.
And how do you feel about your clients especially with cloud? I mean, it hasn't been out there for a long time, and there are a lot of industries that are skeptical about cloud. What has your experience been with that?
My experience is maybe a bit different than the experience I had in a design agencies, because I don't work directly for clients, but we have clients that are buying our solutions, and sometimes we are doing interviews with clients to get to know what are their needs or what are their needs, and we use them as feedback and thing about the process, you know. And what was the question again? Sorry,
about different industry, how they react to the cloud.
About the cloud.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the sensitive data that our clients have in their companies, it's becoming a thing in France because they don't want to put it on a Google platform or a Box platform, and they have to be very careful of that because they are sensitive and strategic data. So the thing that there is a French leader, a European leader that can deal with their data in secure environment, it's very important. And in the design, we have to try to find ways to embody trust. You know, it's something that is.
How do you achieve that?
How?
What do you tell them?
We are trying to, but interfaces, they have to be very robust. We have to deal and prevent errors in forms. We have to deal with all the system messages and to have a good UX writing, which can lead them to usability problems or things like that. So we have to be extra careful about, of course, usability in a software company, and the quality also is a big issue.
Do you also do user testing with your products?
We have user testing, but we don't test a lot of prototypes. We prototype a lot. We start to test then with the engineers and the commercial team, and with clients we are very careful because we have a roadmap we have to follow. And we are trying not to overpromise something in the prototype, because in the prototype you can do pretty much anything you want, and but the feedback is very important for us, and we are trying to. In the first year, we worked a lot about our process with the front and back developers, which was very difficult to formalize, and I think the user research part, it will be another sequence of work that will start, I think, in the second semester of 2019.
And how would you compare the user testing to the clients that are really confidential and the ones that are more easygoing? So the ones that you also have problems or struggle with regarding the cloud?
We mostly work with B2B clients. So the difficulty is to have access to them. And that's a big issue because we are depending on other people in the company to get the contacts, and it's quite a negotiation to get the contacts. And we have a small B2C division in the company, and of course the needs are very different. For the B2C part, I think it's easier to go with the guerrilla testing, or user research, more informal user research methodology, I think.
And was there one project in your career that was like a huge success and that changed your vision on UX?
I worked on redesign for a French bank, Crédit Mutuel and CIC. Which are very complex interfaces. It's pretty much like software design. It's applicative design. It's very complex interfaces, and it was a really big work of prototyping, redesigning, iterative process with a lot of technical constraints and a lot of strategic stakeholders, and because design also is a political thing in companies. So I think of course, the work is never finished as in product design, but that's one of my big projects that I'm particularly proud of.
Great. And was it a lot of research to get into the project, like understanding the current systems and thinking of how you can improve them, what can you do better? But you first have to understand them. Were there any methodologies in particular that you have used to understand it?
First, you if you've never worked in the financial domain, you have to understand what's online banking, basically. And it's very different from the back-end point of view than the front-end point of view or client point of view. And I think, yes, that's a lot of research, and that's a lot of discussions with the client stakeholders, because you have to understand the marketing point of view, the technical point of view, and you have to mix a lot of different constraints, and it's very demanding as a background process, because you even start to draw a wireframe or try to build a prototype. You have a lot of work to do.
Sure. So did you design both systems, like the front end for the customers and the back end for the employees of the bank, or
no, just the front end? Yeah, front end
for the employees, basically.
Yeah.
All right. So did you interview them to understand how they're using it?
We didn't have much opportunity to interview them. The project took place in 2014, and it was a bit earlier. In France, user research is something that didn't have a lot of place before. And it's you always have from the client's point of view reasons not to do interviews, not to do user research and things like that. So we didn't have the opportunity to interview users.
And do you work very close with developers when you create your wireframes and stuff? Does it start at the same time as design? Is it an agile environment? Yeah.
Of course. That's, I think, the main point of the project. It's, the developer and designer workflow. It has always been a big issue in project, in digital project, and this one is no different from the others. And yes, we had to make sure that every proposition in the prototype or in the design is the technical feasibility,
Mm-hmm. So how much of a prototype do you still need to build if you work so close with the developers? Is there still a need for an actual prototype, or is it okay if it's static and you just communicate with them?
No, we really need the prototype, the dynamic, the interactive prototype. Mm-hmm. It's not really a functional prototype, but you need to navigate between the different screens and demonstrate some kind of micro interactions. That's the thing that is really important. It's mostly about the interface behavior. Mm-hmm. And if we don't have that, of course, colors, typography, and information architecture is something important, but the work is not done if you don't have the behavior of the interface.
I see. And what is the one tool that you can't live without, if you could point one? So what do you start your day with? And I'm not talking about email.
I think it's, of course, I would say as now product designer, it's a prototyping tool.
Yeah.
And especially XD because the learning curve of XD is so amazing because it's so easy to use it and to make videos with the prototype and because the point it's not to make a perfect prototype but to have the big picture about the prototype, and XD allows to do the big picture and also to go into the details, but you don't have to go into all the details to make a good prototype, I think. And of course the tool is very important.
I see. If you guys have any questions in the chat, let me know as well. We still have about 10 minutes to go, so
Great.
if there is anything, let me know and I'll ask Benoit for you. Otherwise, how do your developers feel about XD when you share the prototypes?
Oh, the question could be how the developer feel about design also, because it's not always easy to collaborate with the front-end developers and back-end developers. So our process is a lot about communicating, of course, and we have to organize a lot of design reviews. And I think I'm not sure if the tool is their main focus, but they can be very curious about what tool we use and why do we use this kind of tools, and
but it helps you to not have to do design guidelines anymore, right?
Yeah.
So it saves you a lot of time.
Yeah, it saves a lot of time. That's of course something very important that now is new in our design process. So we don't have to describe all the components or elements with colors, typography, and size. And that's a big progress, of course, and we just have to send a link with the inspector from XD, for example, or another tool, and I think it's for the developer it's a big progress, and for us too.
Awesome. So is it usually, do you work on a project on your own, or is it like a collaborative thing that you do? Are there many designers working on the same thing, and if so, how do you do that?
When it's very different. It depends where you work and from which point of view you are working. But when I was in a digital agency at Awwwards, my previous company, most of the work was done alone. I was not that I was the brain of the team. It's not about I think ownership, but it was more a sequenced process. First, we do the UX, wireframes, prototypes, and then the creative studio takes them and they are working on more detailed mock-ups and with colors and brand identity and product identity. But now at Awwwards, which is a software company, it's more like a teamwork, because what is very enjoyable and interesting in the process that we put in place is that sometimes Thomas, my designer, can work 2 days on a first version of the prototype, and then I will take it back to work, and then it's maybe Tori or maybe Maxime that will work on it, and it's I don't know how to describe this very collaborative process. Getting a bit
loud here as well.
Yeah.
A lot going on here in Amsterdam at Awwwards. Yeah, people are slowly waking up.
Yeah.
So let's see if someone wakes up in the chat. I have Angelique here. I'm wondering why Benoit wanted to become a designer.
I did.
Why don't you just read
really
books?
Yeah. No,
French books, right?
I did not really want to be a designer. I became a designer. There's a French designer I like a lot. Her name is Nathalie Crasset, and she was on the radio on France Culture a few weeks ago, and she said that she had a very interesting point of view. She said that it takes a lot of time to become a designer. Today, the young generation is more about I don't know how to say it.
Learning things
consumerism,
fast.
you know, of design, and they want to be very quickly a designer with all the tools, and but it takes time to really become a designer. And
so Natalie was the one who inspired you to become a designer. Yeah. That's good to know. So Natalie, if you hear this, Benoit is your fan.
My models, as a professional, they have always been women, digital women.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell us more about that.
Yeah. My former boss, Laetitia Puy-Fauché, is the most clever person I've ever met, and she's somebody very important for me because she taught me a lot of course of my work and about discipline, about being a good professional. That's very important for me.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
So thanks for that. Thanks to all the women out there, and thanks Angelique for that interesting question. So is there something for the designers out there that you can give them on the way, a tip from yourself to inspire them?
To inspire them.
Yeah.
I think if I wanted to tell a young designer, maybe I don't have any lesson to give to anyone, of course, but you have to get a strong design culture, a strong digital culture. Of course, read a lot of books, go to conferences such as Awwwards, go to design events, meet people.
Are there any books you can recommend?
There's a lot of books. Currently, I'm reading a book about machine learning and artificial intelligence from Antonio Casilli. It's a French researcher. The title is En attendant les robots. In English, it would be something like waiting for the robots.
Okay.
And it's a very interesting work about how the human work that is behind artificial intelligence. So I like when the reflection is some kind of critique and some kind of debate.
I see. That's great. So everybody out there, get the book. We have one more question. At what point of the process do you align with stakeholders, from Alessandro? And we don't have much time left for that.
Okay.
So as a goodbye word.
Sorry?
As a goodbye word, you can say
Okay.
what process do you align with the stakeholders?
Oh, the process.
But we don't have much time
Yeah,
left, so
we don't
maybe
have much time.
you answer that
The question about the process, of course, is a focus, and I think the process is to understand, then is to build something fast, and to test, of course, and to iterate a lot. There's no limit,
Awesome.
I think, to iteration. So
Okay. And on that note, I have to say thank you, Benoit. Thanks for everyone for watching.
thanks a lot.
Up next is Rufus and me showing some great stuff in XD. And yeah, thanks.
Thank you.